All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend this session. Let us jump into the agenda. Is this clear? Can you guys hear me? Perfect. Okay. All right. So this is what we are trying to cover today in this next 20-25 minutes. We're going to talk about what exactly do we mean when we speak about business value realization. We're going to try and think about why should you as customers even bother with this in the first place. And if it makes sense to you, how do we partner together? How do you as customers and Sumo Logic partner and collaborate and build out a business value realization? And I have a case study that I'd like to walk you through of one of these exercises that we did with a current customer and share with you what it looks like, to give you an example. Does that sound good? Okay, all right. So a little bit about me. I have been with Sumo Logic about 8 months now. I lead the business value practice here. Prior to this, I was at Okta in a similar role. And before that, though, I have experiences at large enterprises like Capital One and American Airlines, where I was on the business side of things. So I don't have a technical background. Instead, I have a business and strategy background and was at Capital One the lead finance person internally working on technology business cases with our internal technology teams, helping them try to build out internal justification exercises of why they should take on projects. And some of the big projects I worked on was the investment decision regarding Capital One's cloud journey. So how do technologists convince the business to spend millions of dollars to go to the cloud where the business hasn't even heard about what the cloud is? Like this is 5 years ago, 6 years ago, right? So how do we work together and build a business case that would resonate with the customer and would resonate with the business internally to then justify why they should do this journey and partner with the technology team? So that's the background that I have. And now instead of an internally focused role, I have the pleasure of working with customers and helping you guys think through the business challenges that you are solving and the impact that that has to the bottom line of your company that you are able to then actually realize for your companies. Based in Dallas, so that's a little bit about me. So the goal of the Value Office. Our goal every time I engage with a customer is to collaborate. So that's a key word here. This is not something that I can do by myself sitting at my desk. This is something that's very collaborative in nature. So we work together and we then build something that articulates the business benefits and cost savings that are enabled at your organization through Sumo Logic. So that's the goal of this exercise. That's the goal of the Value Office. Okay, make sense? So what is business value realization? Again, it's a collaborative exercise and it's an analytical exercise. So what do I mean by that? So this exercise is based on data and statistics and facts that we collect from you that are pertinent to your organization, that are real for your situations, for your use cases. So we have conversations. We talk about how you're leveraging the Sumo Logic platform. We understand the use cases that you are deploying Sumo Logic in. And then we try to understand the impact that that is having. What are the metrics associated with those use cases that are relevant? And therefore, the financial models that get created are based on those statistics and data and facts from your organizations. So it becomes very real and it becomes something that will resonate internally in your organization. It's something that, again, use case and value driver analysis is performed. And what we can also do is we can benchmark this against hundreds of our customers that we've done this before, right? And we can tell you that, hey, what you're using here, this is great. And there may be a few other use cases that you haven't even thought about. And therefore, you're maybe leaving some value on the table. And we can include that in our analysis as well. And then this becomes a bit of a joint roadmap for us to further enhance our partnership. So that is what this exercise is all about. And the bar at the bottom, it just states that this is not something that Sumo Logic invented. We actually asked Forrester Research to go work with hundreds of our customers. And they had conversations and built a model. And we then have taken that model and we will customize that as we engage with you in your organizations. So that's what this exercise is about. Make sense? All right. So up on the screen now is our value framework. So this is the Forrester Research Total Economic Impact Model that was created. And what you see here is on the left, you see the solutions of Sumo Logic as a platform. So you heard Ramin speak about this in the keynote. You've heard about this throughout the day and so on. These are different ways in which Sumo Logic can be leveraged. And not each company uses Sumo Logic in the same way, right? So, but if you're using us for operational intelligence, for security intelligence, for business intelligence, a combination, whatever it may be, that's very specific to how you leverage and deploy Sumo Logic as a platform. But based on that, the value drivers on the right, they come to life. So not all of these value drivers may be relevant. Okay, only a few of these may be relevant depending on how you are deploying Sumo Logic as a platform. So this framework is flexible, and we therefore will customize this framework for you in your specific situation, and we will probe the areas, the value drivers which are relevant, and build those out, flesh those out, and we leave out the value drivers that are not relevant. So this way, this becomes a very custom and very real business value realization exercise for your situation in your organization. Make sense? All right. So why do this? So hopefully now this becomes a little bit clear of what exactly we're talking about. What is a business value realization exercise? So why do this, right? This is obviously a very technical tool, a technical platform, a technical solution. And you deploy these in very technical use cases. Okay? So when somebody asks you, what is the impact that this is having? What is the impact that Sumo Logic is enabling? What comes out is something that's very technical also, right? Yeah, what we do is we aggregate logs, we do log analytics, we see these things, we work on these situations, and so on and so forth. So these are very technical outcomes and very feature and function oriented outcomes. Instead, you can go a step further and transform that statement into a, hey, we leverage Sumo Logic, and through our use cases of Sumo Logic, we are able to improve our service level agreements or whatever the case may be that is specific to you. And the improvements then get quantified to, because we're able to make this change, because we moved the needle from A to B, this is the impact that this is having to the organization. And you're able to have that statement be read out in a very compelling way to somebody that may be not very technical in nature, somebody outside the IT organization, in the finance organization, in some of the other parts of the business, right? And this becomes a very compelling way for you to then talk about the actual impact that this is having to the company, not in terms of the technical outcomes, but in terms of business outcomes. And this becomes the way that you can communicate. So it becomes a very compelling, very powerful story, and it elevates you internally in your organization. So this is why you should maybe think about doing this exercise. Okay? So when we do these analyses, there are two distinct flavors. So the first flavor is a return on investment analysis. So here, what we are trying to understand is, what are the benefits that are enabled by Sumo Logic versus, hey, this is what Sumo Logic costs us as a solution, right? And then you try to compare, do the benefits outweigh the costs? And does it make sense to actually have Sumo Logic within our organization? What is the return on investment that we are enabling? And the questions that get answered by this type of analysis is, why do we actually have this project, right? Why are we implementing these use cases? And why are we doing this now versus other things that we could be investing our time and effort in? So this is the return on investment analysis. The other flavor of an analysis could be a total cost of ownership analysis, where basically we understand the benefits of the solution, we understand the benefits of the use cases, but hey, there's choice. Sumo Logic is not the only way to get this done. We could build a solution ourselves, we could leverage some other tools, and there a total cost of ownership analysis becomes powerful. So what that enables is, what is the cost of Sumo Logic to doing this versus alternatives? And that alternative could also be do nothing. Why do we even do this at all, right? So that answers the why Sumo Logic question. And we can perform both or either of these analyses as appropriate. But this gives you a sense of, hey, these are the types of things that we can do when we're talking about business value realization exercises, and they target different outcomes, different questions get answered depending on what the situation that you are facing. Okay? This slide is a bit busy, so I do want to spend a little bit of time here. The process is not designed to be a heavy lift for the customers, okay? And this is what I'm trying to illustrate here. So typically, this is not a very long engagement. We typically do this in 2 to 3 weeks. That doesn't mean that it cannot happen quicker. That doesn't mean that it maybe take a little bit longer. It depends, but typically our engagements last 2 to 3 weeks long. Now, that doesn't mean that we need you actively engaged that entire 2 to 3 weeks either. We need only pockets of your time throughout that exercise. Basically, we need to have a kickoff call. We need to align on the objectives. We'll talk about the use cases. We'll talk about who we should talk to further in your organization. And after that, we'll find time with the key practitioners who deploy those use cases in your organization, and then have interviews with them and understand, hey, these are the use cases that you have. Tell us about it. Tell us about the situation. Tell us about how Sumo Logic is improving these use cases for you. What is the impact that it is having, and so on, right? And we collect that data from those interviews, and we build financial models around it. So from a customer standpoint, it's not a heavy lift. The heavy lift happens at my end, at Sumo Logic's end. And then we have an iterative review. So that is something that I want to stress on also. Because what we do is we then have a feedback session. We relay all the information we collected, and we walk you through that entire analysis in a very transparent manner, and we ask for your feedback. We ask you, hey, does this make sense? Are we being reasonable here? And you tell us, hey, no, you are being super aggressive in these assumptions and these data points. We need to tone this back. This is not relevant, and so on and so forth. And based on that feedback, we have iterations. So this is something that happens in an iterative, collaborative way, so that at the end of this exercise, you have something that you can stand behind, that you can feel you've owned, and that you've driven the process. You may not have done the process, but you've driven the process. You have ownership of this process. So really, it's not a lot of time commitment over this 2 to 3 weeks from your end, and we do this in a very collaborative way, in a very engaging way. And that's from a process standpoint, how this slide tries to address that. All right. So with that, I wanted to jump into our case study. So a customer spotlight here is around a Sumo Logic customer that leverages us and is actually a software and IoT company in the agriculture industry. So this is, if you think about it, the agriculture industry is one of the biggest industries on this planet. So some of the stats there address the agriculture industry as a whole. It's one of the oldest professions that humans have ever had, okay? But it's ripe for disruption. And this company here is leveraging software and is leveraging IoT devices to improve how to perform agriculture, and is delivering their solutions and technology to farmers as they go about doing their day-to-day jobs to improve their yields, to improve their crop performance, to help them plan out their crop plantation and rotation and so on and so forth. So that's the customer we're talking about. And this customer leverages Sumo Logic to aid them in their business. So the process that we followed, we spoke to, in the process slide, I tried to describe this. We spoke to a few key practitioners of Sumo Logic within this company, and we asked them about the use cases. We asked them about how they leverage Sumo Logic. They were in the site reliability engineering team. They were in the customer support team. They were in the internal development team, in the CI/CD team, and so on. And we got a good handle of, okay, this is how Sumo Logic is leveraged internally in this company, right? And we built the financial models around those conversations. And we also highlighted that, look, this is great. This is who we got access to. But based on these conversations and what we've learned, there could be further discussions that we could have had that we did not get the opportunity to at that time, but this could be an ongoing thing. It doesn't have to be a one-time set in stone exercise either, but we can further go and talk to your audit and compliance team, your business insights team, and so on, and capture some more data relevant to those areas and keep refining and keep working with you in a collaborative, ongoing way. So this becomes a bit of a journey and not just a one moment in time exercise. So with that, we'll have some feedback slides. Hey team, this is what we heard. So these are some anecdotes that we heard in those conversations, right? And for example, hey, the SRE team's productivity is enhanced by the ability to quickly and efficiently identify and troubleshoot problems. This is a very generic statement. This is what we heard. But then we probe on this and say, okay, can you give me a sense of how much and how many times and how often and what is the effort that was required before and what is the effort that is required now? And get these kind of data and metrics in these conversations and then build the models around that, right? So when you do that, you then are able to build models, which is what I do, and use that framework that I showed you earlier on and quantify the benefits based on the use cases and the value drivers that are relevant and pertinent in that situation. So we build out, this is an executive summary slide of the quantification of those use cases and value drivers. And then you can have an example. So we've picked one of these examples. So this is basically illustrating that, look, before Sumo Logic, this is the situation that they were facing. So many issues per month, so much time to resolve each issue, so many FTs that get involved. And then probing them, okay, what is the situation now, right? So now there's a 90% reduction in mean time to identify and mean time to resolve these situations, okay? So that 5 hours has been reduced by 90%. And we don't even need 6 FTEs dedicated now. We're able to do this with 5 FTEs and we've freed up one whole resource's time, okay? So then when you crunch those numbers, that results in a time reduction and an FTE reduction, which means a bottom line impact of so and so. So this is an example of the type of analytics that we build around these use cases based on your own data and your own use cases. And then you can crunch these financial metrics. You can compute a return on investment, you can compute a payback period, and you can compare the benefits to the cost, and so on. So with that, I have my 3 takeaways for you guys. If you think this is a compelling thing to go through, if you think that this will help you in your journey as a Sumo Logic customer, please engage your account executive. They can start the process. We will collaborate with you. The Value Office will collaborate with you. And we will build something together that you will be able to leverage internally to showcase the business impact. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
And before we leave, I did want to point out that this is the rest of the schedule in this channel. And there's also a QR code. If you please scan that and submit feedback, that'll be very helpful. We're happy to take questions.